It was proposed back in the 1940s and still is not done. However, Spokane-area lawmakers say they are committed to getting the North-South Freeway finished in the next 10 years or less. As part of tonight's Boomtown coverage, KREM 2's Whitney Ward sat down with State Representative Riccelli to talk efforts to speed up the timeline to get the project done as soon as possible.
So I think the sooner some of these segments become drivable, the better. It doesn't just help our goods move quicker. It helps people get home to their families quicker. It reduces travel times and it reduces our carbon footprint.
Spokane is booming. We know that. How crucial is this project in order just to keep up with traffic demand and our growing population?
Well, I think from housing, from commute times to reducing transportation barriers, I think it's part of a connected transportation system.
You mentioned housing. I just talked with DOT today. They said about 550 homes were purchased and then ultimately torn down in order to kind of pave the way for this project. Is that a concern for you, knowing that every single house is really valuable right now?
Absolutely a concern. We're all talking about how we can use WSDOT surplus lands to potentially build housing and look at partnerships, whether that's workforce housing, whether that be a different kinds of housing to help meet the increased demand.
Other countries are speeding up and America's falling behind. We've got to reset the pace again.
The president's infrastructure bill and how that could also be a factor. Could it possibly move up the timeline to complete the project sooner?
And I believe we're looking at potential of 2030, but there's drivable segments that can come online when we get it to Trent. And I think that's really important to make segments drivable sooner so the public can see their tax dollars at work. So if you're heading up to Deer Park and you can pop off and jump on Trent and go all the way up north pretty quickly, that's going to make a big deal in your quality of life.
I'm sure that you are very well aware of the perception that this project, if it were over on the west side, that it would have been done a long time ago. So if the project is considered fully funded here at the state level, why is it still going to be at least another decade before it's done?
Well, I think one of the big things is just the work to get it done. We have huge segments that take a lot of engineering, construction, labor, people hours, hard hats, and helmets. We are fully funded, but COVID has hit our transportation budget, and no future legislature is bound by a current legislature's actions. So we have to keep our eyes on it.
Are you, as a state legislator, going to be able to influence how that money is spent and where it goes?
Well, a lot of that is formula dollars and how that comes to state, but I'll tell you how that helps us. That could relieve a lot of pressure on other things, whether it be the Columbia River crossing, whether it be the West Seattle Bridge that needs repair.
How much say do you have being on the Transportation Committee to kind of guiding those dollars?
Well, I certainly have a direct line to WSDOT here. I certainly spent a lot of time with the chair of our transportation. So I'll use whatever influence that I have, but also I think it's important for us in Spokane to say that we have an interconnected transportation system. So we don't want to pit one side of the state against the other. I'll continue to fight to make sure we get, honestly, more than our fair share, because that's what I think I got elected to do, but also remain confident that, if we work together, we can build the kind of transportation system that works for everybody.
So right now, the projected completion date for the North-South Corridor is 2029-2030. Now, Representative Riccelli also told me he is hoping to work with WSDOT to accelerate certain portions of the project and potentially move up the total completion date to 2026. For example, we have this portion here that is from Sprague to the Spokane River. He says that section actually could be completed a year ahead of schedule, meaning that traffic would be flowing there by 2024. Then another portion from Sprague to I-90, that's down here, that could be finished 7 months ahead of schedule, potentially finishing this whole thing by 2026. He says if you remove the cash flow restrictions, it could also save about $7.5 million and get all of this done 3 years ahead of schedule. In 2026, that's only 5 years away. So we'll stay on top of this project and we'll keep asking questions. For now, in the studio, I'm Whitney Ward, KREM 2 News.